Okay, so to make sauerkraut, you'll need a clean jar. You can use a jar of any size. That'll just depend on how much vegetables you have to ferment. But for today, I'm using a 1 kilo jar. That's a pretty good size. Then you'll need the vegetables that you're going to ferment. You can ferment any vegetable safely. I really like this mix, the red cabbage and the green cabbage. I've used a 1/4 piece each. And then I've got some grated zucchini, carrot, beetroot, some red onion. Red onion's really nice fermented. Some turmeric grated, some ginger grated, and some minced garlic, some crushed garlic. So that makes for a really nice mix. I've actually got some that I am fermenting at the moment, and all those ingredients together make a really nice colour in that jar. So I really like a colourful kraut. So once you've collected the vegetables that you've chosen to ferment, you've made your special mix, you can top with any type of seeds. I really like caraway seeds. They give a really nice flavour throughout the mix. About a tablespoon of those, so I'm just going to sprinkle those over. Now the rule is 20 grams of salt to a kilo of your vegetable mix. So I've got about a kilo of vegetables in this silver bowl, and I've got my 20 grams of salt weighed out here. So to start preparing your vegetables for fermentation, I'm just going to sprinkle the salt over the whole mix. And then you basically have to try and incorporate that salt the best you can. The idea of the salt is that it's going to draw the moisture out of the vegetables and become quite liquidy in the bowl, and then the vegetables will ferment in their own juice in the jar. So it takes about a good 5 minutes to massage the salt through the vegetables to start getting that liquid coming out. So while I'm doing that, I thought I'd give you some information on fermentation and why it's so good for your health. Fermented foods have been through a process called lactofermentation. This is where the natural bacteria feeds on the sugar and starch in the food and creates lactic acid. The process preserves and creates beneficial enzymes, B vitamins, omega-3 fatty acids, and heaps of strains of probiotics, which increase the health of the gut microbiome, which we all know now is so important. This ultimately enhances the immune system and supports our mitochondrial function, which is actually the health inside our cells. So sauerkraut is really great news for our overall health. You will get to the point where quite a lot of liquid starts to come out of the vegetables like that, and it does start to collect in the bottom of the bowl. So once you're at that point, when the liquid's starting to really pour out, it's time to jar up. To start to jar up your sauerkraut mix, just put a small amount in the bottom, and the idea is that we want to pack the mix into the jar as tightly as possible and continue to sort of break down the structure of those vegetables, releasing more moisture. Packing down, really kind of banging it in there and making sure it's kind of pushed, sort of pushing it right down in the jar too, and that brings all that liquid up through the layers to the surface. As you can see, that's quite the workout. Once you finally get to the top of your jar with that last little bit of mix, really push it down and let that liquid come up to the surface and submerge those vegetables. Then pop on your lid nice and tight. It's always good to put your jar on some sort of drip tray just to catch any liquid that will leak from the jar over the next couple of days as the fermentation process really starts to kick off. The fermentation time can vary. That's normally on the weather. Cooler weather will ferment slower, warmer weather will ferment faster. I find the sweet spot's about 10 days, but it's really to your taste preference. So get to know your kraut, check in on it every couple of days, submerge back under the liquid with a clean spoon, give it a taste. As soon as you're happy with the taste of it, pop it in the fridge where the fermentation process will cease. I don't know if you can see that there, but it's bubbling away. I'll just give it a little push. Bubbles there. And that's a good indication that the fermentation process has kicked off. It'll continue to do that, of course, over the coming days. But it's a really good sign that everything's going well in there. I just want to say a big thank you to Sammy Zako from Fermenting Australia. I went along to one of her workshops a few years ago and I was so glad I did. She's such a wealth of knowledge. You can check her out at fermentingaustralia.com.au. Her awesome masterclass is on there, and also an ebook full of great recipes using the method of fermentation. Thanks for watching.